Hey, throw that list away, all right?
Why are we around? Let
Yo, welcome to the show. It's a Chiefs Blitz night. Breaking down the plays, keeping everything tight. From my homes to the defense, we give you the scoop. Real talk, real stats, we the ultimate troop. This ain't no game, it's our passion on display.
The baby himself.
Chiefs Blitz podcast, real fans unite. Every touchdown scored, we ignite the night. From tailgate chatter to post-game debate, we love our Chiefs, yes, never too late.
I would even bring MVS back in the middle of the season.
What? Are you ready for the best Kansas City Chiefs insight? Welcome to the Four Guys in a Bar, sponsored by ChiefsBlitz.com, presented by UnderdogFantasy.com. Here's your Chiefs Blitz host, Nick Athen, with Lou Montagna, Andre Tillman, and hence Todd.
No, I am not Nick Athen, but this is Lou. And joining us, of course, is the one and only Adam Teicher. Been covering this team for the past 32 years, hanging up the clipboard, hanging up the scratch pad, the MP3 player, whatever else it takes to do his job. But as always, like I said, this is a special edition. We're always brought to you by our friends at Underdog Sports. So if you want to play along, just go ahead and scan the QR code, put the promo code in, Chiefs Blitz, and you play 5, and they'll give you 50. So you really have nothing to lose. And as a bonus, our friend Nick will send you an autographed trading card of a Chief, probably more than likely is signed. So nothing to lose. Play with our friends at Underdog Fantasy Sports. So Adam, this is it. 32 years. A little bit of the backstory. I think it was about 32 years ago. I picked up my landline phone. Found your number. Were you guys submitting your stuff to the Sporting News back then?
Yeah, I did a lot of work for the Sporting News for, 15, most of my time at the Star, really. There was a few years I didn't do it, but most of my time at the Star, yes, I was doing a lot of Sporting News stuff. Absolutely.
Because I'm thinking, where would I have gotten that number? Because I think I was living in Florida at the time. I think that's probably where I got it, was at the bottom of a Sporting News article, and your phone number was there. I think.
Is that right?
Maybe was there. Did you work with was it a Kent Summers or
Kent Pulliam? Yes.
Kent Pulliam. Okay, so there was two names.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I must have flipped a coin, dialed one number, and lo and behold, you answered the damn phone.
You picked the wrong number, didn't you? Yeah, I think we used to put our phone numbers at the bottom of articles.
Yeah. So that's kind of how all this started. But this is the first time we're meeting face to face. I wanted, thank you for taking some of your time to chat with us. First things first. There's a rumor that maybe on your last day in the facility that there was a cheeseburger bar.
That was back during the playoffs.
Okay. All right. So I missed the date, but
yeah, Andy Reid sprung for a cheeseburger bar for myself and all the media as sort of a going away present. But that's the thing, is everybody just assumed I was going to be done when the season was over. But I told them I was working until the summer sometime. And so he kept giving me a hard time about it. Kept saying, Andy Reid did, "Hey, I thought we got rid of you. I thought you were out the door." So, but he's finally rid of me now, so we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. So how does it feel? I mean, first time you're not going to camp in 32 years.
Yeah. Well, there's other things we want to do. We've moved to Colorado. We actually live. My wife and I live in Colorado now, and we're already enjoying the Colorado life. So. It's quite a deal, and it's going to take some getting used to. I mean, it'll be weird when the Chiefs go to camp and I'm not there, and I won't be in St. Joe for the first time since the Chiefs started showing up, and it was in River Falls before that. So it'll be different, and then certainly
That's
the season.
In Wisconsin, man.
The Friday night of the Brazil game, I'll be like, well, I guess I'll watch on TV, but. I don't know how it's going to go. I'll watch some Chiefs, but probably not all of them. Don't think they'll all be available in Colorado, and we might give the DVR a good workout, but I don't know that we would cancel plans to watch a Chiefs game. So I don't know exactly how this is going to go.
Well, a ton of their games are on regular television. So that's a good bonus. Or there is this thing called the Sunday Ticket, Adam.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I've heard it's good, but I've been using it for years. So
I will not be
that's
getting the Sunday Ticket,
yeah,
but that's available. But you know what? Hey, not to, I've just spent a lot of my life built where our schedule has been built around
right,
Chiefs
yeah.
games, and those days are over for sure.
All right. Now, you tweeted out the other day that you don't have any more Chief stories left. I'm hoping you have a few more that you're willing to share here with us today.
Uh-huh.
I won't go too far back in the archives, but just kind of go down memory lane. But something kind of at the front of mind right now is the talk of the new stadium or potentially moving to Kansas or Missouri. What are your thoughts on that? Or do you have any insight into kind of how this thing is going to shake out?
Yeah, well, it's hard to predict how these offers are going to go and how sweet one site might make it versus another site. But know this going into it, the Chiefs have a great affinity for the Arrowhead Stadium site and Arrowhead Stadium in particular. It was, of course, built when Lamar Hunt owned the team, and their Clark Hunt has a great affinity for that fact that his dad was the father of that stadium, if you will, and there's some things in that stadium the Chiefs can't get if they start from scratch. So I think it's going to have to be a great offer for the Chiefs to go off the Arrowhead site. Now, not to say they wouldn't do that, but my sense is they're going to end up at that site and probably in a renovated Arrowhead Stadium. But if Kansas or some other venue comes up with a better offer, then maybe the Chiefs will decide it's time to leave. But I think that would be maybe the tiebreaker, if you will, is that their love for that site and their feeling that they can't maybe get it in a new stadium what they can at Arrowhead.
Yeah, we've debated it so many times on our show, and as the thing has evolved, and now with Donovan trying to get the extension from Kansas and all this, so I was like, is this a bargaining chip, whatever? And I had kind of posited the fact that even though that there is that nostalgia, and we know that Clark is just, holds his dad in the highest reverence, as he should, that maybe that he wants to like kind of have his legacy and maybe have a stadium that could potentially host the Super Bowl game that his dad had envisioned. And so we'll see about that. So in terms of Clark and Lamar, I mean, you've had dealings with both of them, I would assume. How would you compare the two, what the differences are, maybe the similarities, and kind of maybe give us an insight into what Clark is thinking here?
Yeah, he keeps his cards close to the vest there, but I can tell you that what I already mentioned about their love for Arrowhead and the Arrowhead site, because there's just been so many truly amazing games, truly amazing memories in there. So, hey, I don't know that the Chiefs would take a worse offer, what they view as a worse offer from Arrowhead, to renovate or stay in that, at least build on the site. But maybe more as a tiebreaker, that's what they would do. But it's going to be interesting to see where this ends up. But I still think it's going to be in a renovated Arrowhead.
Somewhere in that space, and that again, I think that would be the best of both worlds for everybody, because it just would be weird if they were playing somewhere else. It really would.
Yeah.
So the position that you were in, is there kind of a dance you have to do to stay true to your craft? You're trying to get information, you're trying to be factual. At the same time, you have to have a relationship with these guys, with the team and
That's right.
everything else. How does that work?
Yeah, no, it's a dance, all right. That's a good term for it. And it's hard to navigate sometimes. Some players have a greater appreciation or want to know about my job and why I'm here and what the things I want to accomplish, and some don't. And so it is kind of a little a dance, if you will. And it's harder now than it was in my earlier days in the Chiefs, because you just can't get to know the Chiefs as well as you did back in the day. They have so many rules blocking access and limiting access that it's harder to get to know the players. So back then I could tell them, hey, listen, this is a story I'm working on. I'd like your input certainly, but here's what I'm going to say in that story. And they could either say, yeah, I'd like to cooperate with you, or no, I wouldn't. Now you're just sort of firing questions at somebody without explaining any context. So it makes it a lot more difficult.
So, are those team rules, league rules, or what do you think was the catalyst behind limiting your access?
It's more the league, and I don't know. It's so much rules. It's just the way this thing is evolved over the years. You know, the teams don't need the media the way they did when I first started. You know, they have their own websites and they can talk to their fans through their own websites. They don't need the traditional media like they once did. And so as a result, the access for the traditional media is decreased and decreased and decreased. And I don't know exactly where it's headed, but it makes it a lot more difficult, no doubt.
Yeah. So with the advent of social media and so forth, how, I guess, are there some ways that you've been able to take advantage of it? You talked about how it's kind of limited some things. Have you been able to take advantage of it in any way to kind of advance your cause?
Well, you know, just being with ESPN, I mean, everybody's heard of ESPN, and
Right.
it's obviously national in scope, so you know, that's certainly helped. But you know, I certainly wasn't excluded from that group of local media. I mean, it's still a lot more difficult when you're out there on an everyday basis.
So can you recall a time, and maybe when the coverage wasn't as great, where you'd be in a press conference or something and you were kind of maybe pushing the envelope a little bit with your questions, and maybe talk through one of those where maybe you got a little uncomfortable?
Oh, that's happened a number of times. Maybe not so much in press conferences, but in one-on-one confrontations. Oh, absolutely. There were a number of them. Just pulling one out. When Todd Haley was coaching the Chiefs, it was his first season, and it was the next to last game of the year, and the Chiefs were in Cincinnati, and they lost to the Bengals. And I was asking Todd Haley why he did this or what happened in the game. I don't remember exactly the question. Finally, Haley just stopped. He looks at me and he says, "Why are your questions all so negative?" And I said, "Todd, your team is 3-12. So it by that logic, you've won 20% of your games. So 20% of my questions you might view as positive. The other 80% you're probably not going to like. So you might want to win a few more games. And that ratio of my questions will from a positive or negative to positive will change." And I think he got a little bit of a kick out of that. But that's kind of where that is. I mean, he just didn't like it where it was going, and it blew up a little bit. But hey, we got the job done, so that's all that counts, right?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously there've been so many different coaches over the years and so forth. In terms of just how the organization has been run, I mean, you've seen this metamorphosis. I mean, was there kind of a linchpin, or maybe some catalyst along the way that you said, you know what, this is kind of where things started to turn?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to sound weird, but it happened several years ago. I want to say it was after the 2007 season. The Chiefs, I think that year lost the last 8 or 9 games and finished I think it was 4-12. And it was obvious changes were coming to the organization. And Carl Peterson was still the general manager, but it was obvious he was on borrowed time. Now he lasted for one more season at that point, but you knew it wasn't going to be long. And the same for Herm Edwards, who was coaching the team at the time. And after the season was over, though, it was early 2008, January 2008, Clark Hunt called me out to his suite at Arrowhead Stadium, and he just explained, this is where we're going to go with the organization. Now, he didn't make the changes that he'd planned for a year, but you could tell he laid out exactly what he wanted for the organization and how he was going to do it. And it took some time. I mean, he bought the sizzle rather than the steak when he hired Scott Pioli, who in turn hired 2 of the worst head coaches the Chiefs have had. But it took some time for him to figure it out. But to me, that's where it all started. And I wrote about this in my Chiefs book in Kingdom that came out a few years ago, that talk right there, I think in my mind, I left thinking, okay, the Chiefs are going to be successful at some point under Clark Hunt because he knows what he's doing as an owner. And it took a little longer than I thought. And I certainly never would have predicted this kind of success. But I think I would have predicted some sort of success for the Chiefs with Clark Hunt as their owner because of the vision he had and the plan he was about to execute for the Chiefs. So that to me is where this sort of turned. Now they had some pretty bad seasons afterward, but he finally figured it out. And once he did, boy, this thing has just taken off on it. And I don't think Clark Hunt gets enough credit for what's going on with the Chiefs right now. I think he set the perfect tone, not just hired the right people, but set the perfect tone for them to do their jobs.
And I don't know if it's just me, but it just seems like whenever, and I think this might be part of it, is just the way he communicates. Everything sounds scripted when, even though it may not be, just the way he just kind of delivers his intonation, everything else, it almost sounds like scripted. It's like too good. Like he's too squeaky clean, I guess.
Yeah, it is kind of monotone a little bit, and a lot of times predictable. But that's his public face. I mean, behind the scenes, a little bit, he's a little bit of a different guy, and I just have a lot of respect for how he goes about his business because and again, I'll say it again, I don't think he gets enough credit for what's happened to the Chiefs. They've just had a remarkable run, and he's one of the reasons why, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you fully. He doesn't get enough credit. Again, I guess outside of the hires that he made, I mean, it's easy to point to hiring Coach Reed, bringing in John Dorsey, and so. But what else would you say it is about him that maybe the public isn't aware of, or like you said, just that polished look that he presents to the public? He doesn't seem like that kind of like, I don't want to say cutthroat, but kind of like a to the point businessman.
Yeah, well, he's not swayed in any way by the whatever you want to call it, the winds of public sentiment. I mean, he has his own ideas of how to do things. He listens to the fans, but that doesn't mean he acts the way and carries out the wishes of the fans. I mean, he has his own plan for how he wants to get this thing done, and hire some good people and has some expectations for those people, but it gets out of their way also. I mean, there's no, hey, when Brett Veach or Andy Reid come to him and say, hey, we need this. I mean, it's not necessarily a rubber stamp, but if they give him a good reason, it generally is going to happen. He listens to his people and lets them do their job.
Yeah, and that, again, great quality to have. Any good leader is going to be able to do that. You talked about Coach Haley and maybe some of the other. We won't go into all of them because there has been a laundry list. But maybe if you could take a second, maybe give us a couple sentences on Marty, on Coach Vermeil, and then finally Coach Reid.
Yeah, well, the Chiefs have had some great coaches, and I think Marty Schottenheimer's downfall as a coach was he was such a defensive-minded guy. He just he let that cloud his judgment, I think, and that really set the Chiefs back. I mean, just that inability to open up offensively. He tried a little bit toward the end, but they could never truly be a complete team. He always limited them into being half a team. So I think that's what set him back, but still a great coach who accomplished a lot of things. And Dick Vermeil was my personal favorite. He was such a great person for me to deal with. You talk about a guy who understood how the media worked and their importance in all this. And he was just a dream to work for. Certainly Herm Edwards was that way as well. But Andy Reid is just a remarkable, watching him operate, and you can see why he's so successful. If you've never been to a Chiefs training camp, you really need to go and spend a couple days up there, because his training camp is unlike any other training camp I've ever been to. The Chiefs just get good work done. They don't spend time goofing off or just standing around in the field for no reason or fighting in practice. I mean, all those things were commonplace under other coaches, but they just go from one play to the next, and you can literally see them getting better. And you can see how the Chiefs are a better team when they leave training camp, when they get there. Look at all the years the Chiefs have started 4, 5-0. There's been a couple 9-0s in there. That's not by coincidence. That's not luck or whatever. That's because they get good work done under Andy Reid every year in training camp and in the OTAs and in mini camps, and they're generally ready to go during the regular season. If the Chiefs don't start off this season or any other season strongly, if they don't start off quickly, it's not because they goofed off at training camp. I can promise you that. It's because they've got good work done. There might be other reasons. But generally speaking, the Chiefs are always ready to go, and it's because of his training camps, which are just in his practice sessions, which are like clockwork, no wasted time at all.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, they always start quick. Andy Reid off a bye. I mean, there's all these different records that he has and so forth. It's just you give him time to prepare, and good things normally happen. How about just different, maybe other different story? I know you mentioned a couple of different stories, but maybe some memorable stories about a particular player, or if you had a favorite player that you recall having a good relationship with, and we can talk about anybody in the front office or a coach, but just for a player, is there one that kind of sticks out or two that stick out?
Yeah, there's been a number of them over the years. And I got to tell you, we talked about how I got to know the players better back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my favorite players are guys who played for the Chiefs on that first team, 1993. I mean, I still talk to some of those guys on a semi-regular basis. Guys like Joe Valerio and J.J. Burden and
Sure.
Nick Lowry and Albert Lewis, Kevin Ross. I mean, some of those guys, John Alt, some of those guys are still my favorite players. I don't know. It's so hard to pick one from a more recent era. Boy, Derek Johnson was such a good guy. And you talk about a guy who did understand the role of the media. He always tried to cooperate, always appreciated the class that Derek Johnson held himself to during some tough times. I mean, he played for the Chiefs when it wasn't always fun playing for the Chiefs. But boy, he just always had held his head high and just had a lot of respect for Derek Johnson. Still love running into him whenever I do out at the stadium. I don't know if I'll see him again, but certainly one of my favorites was Derek Johnson.
Yeah, great athlete, just great. Seemed like a great dude. Deserved to be on better teams, but hey, you get what you get. But he was a great guy.
At least he got a little bit of the end, and he got to play for some Andy Reid teams, not the championship teams, but at least he got a little piece of that.
Now, you mentioned 93. That was Montana's first year with the Chiefs, correct?
Yep.
What do you recall about him? I mean, everybody's got the Joe Cool and everything else. And his persona in San Francisco and Notre Dame was just kind of like this guy that was kind of, I don't want to say above it all, but just was very, very cool, kept to himself. But I don't know, what were your interactions with Joe?
I just remember the first time I saw him in person, I said, "Is this all there is?" I mean, he was not a big guy. I mean, he was, I mean, he was not much bigger than me, and so I'm thinking, okay, how's this guy standing up to so many years of football? But he was fun to watch and fun to play, and he was another guy I think understood the role of the beat guy. I mean, he would always be a little bit cautious in front of the cameras, but when I told him without a camera, I just said, "Hey Joe, I need to speak with you." He'd ask me to maybe leave the locker room. We'd go somewhere else in the building to talk for a few minutes, and I was always willing to share that way. So I enjoyed my time with him. I thought he was always a fun guy and good to talk to, so he was. But that's the one thing that always struck me is you see the Chiefs have had some bigger guys playing quarterback, guys like Elvis Gerbach or whatever, right. Matt Castle, but not Joe Montana was not one of them.
No, tough as nails though. I mean, he
no doubt.
took so much abuse. I mean, just took so many huge hits, even back with San Francisco. And again, Western Pennsylvania guy, Adam. Come on, man. He's going to be pretty cool. He's going to be tough as hell. Come on now.
3/4 of the NFL is from Western Pennsylvania. So what are you going to do?
Yes, sir. What would you say going into this season, I mean, you've been with the team to this point, through the off-season program. What's a story or a player we should be looking at going into training camp that maybe isn't in the forefront? Everybody wants to say, well, the offensive line, that's obvious or whatever. Is there a story or a player we should be kind of following and say, hey, we should pay attention to this and maybe talk about it a little bit more?
Well, he's a guy that's gotten a little bit of buzz, seems like lately, but I've written about him as a guy who maybe is an under the radar guy who's a key player for the Chiefs, and that's Jaden Hicks. You look at what Steve Spagnuolo's done since he's been with the Chiefs. I mean, he's always had a veteran at the back end of his defense in first Tyrann Mathieu, and then the last 3 years, Justin Reed. And now the Chiefs are trusting a young guy in that role. And I want to see how he handles it. I mean, it looks like he's got what it takes, but you never know until a guy is thrown out there on an every down basis. I like a lot of the things that he did for the Chiefs last year when he played in limited situations defensively. More importantly, I think the Chiefs were pretty impressed with what he did. But that's a guy to me is a key for, can the defense hold up their end of the bargain? I think it's Jaden Hicks, and I want to see how he does. And to me, to some extent, how he goes might determine how the defense goes.
You just made our producer, Hence Todd, very happy. I'm sure he's in the background there doing a little bit of a jig. He loves himself some Jaden Hicks. He's got a whole gold jacket squad. I get on him about these guys that he falls in love with. They just put the gold jacket on him now. I think that came from Marty or somebody, maybe Coach Parcells. But anyway, I know there was something I wanted to ask you about before, and I guess we're stepping back here, going back, like leading up to the Super Bowl last year, because, you saw the game, whatever. Philadelphia was just a juggernaut at that point. But what was the vibe of the team going into that game? Because I don't know that anybody saw that coming. I mean, it was going to be a tough game. It was going to be a difficult game for them to win, but for them to just get rolled over, it just like, wow, what was happening? I mean, did you get any sense that they might have been a little off before that day?
No, I just think the whole season caught up with them a little bit. I mean, boy, they were just living on the edge last year, and to their credit, they pulled out a lot of close. Yes, they pulled out a lot of close wins, and that's to their credit. They found a way to cover up what really was a lot of what could have been devastating flaws. I think we'll look back at the 2024 Chiefs, went 15-2, 15-1 when they were trying, right, in the regular season, won 2 playoff games and made it to a Super Bowl as an overachieving bunch. I think we really will. I mean, they lost Rashee Rice, they lost Hollywood Brown. The offensive line was kind of in tatters a little bit, and they had to go to a fourth a left tackle to try to solve a problem, and that created a problem at left guard. So it was a really tough deal, and hats off to them for getting the job done and doing what they had to do to get back to a Super Bowl. But boy, they ran into a team with a great plan who was just better than them. And I think that game might not have been a fluke. I mean, if those teams had played 10 times, how many times did the Eagles win that game? 9, maybe. I mean, I think that playing
the way they were, I would say at least, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because there's a good chance it would have been 10. It would just, all the issues with the offensive line, the fact that their defensive line was the strength of their team. They weren't having to send any blitzes and getting all sorts of pressure without sending more than 4. And they were just rotating guy after guy after guy. And poor Joe Tooney, just playing out of position. I mean, I felt bad for him, but that was a rough one to live through for sure.
Yeah. So
speaking about left tackle, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Lou, go ahead.
No, just the current team. There seems to be a lot of hype behind Josh Simmons right now. And, we've talked about it on our show, leading into the draft. I think it was pretty well documented and so forth. And guys that you think know what they're talking about, that but for the injury, he's a top 12 or top 10 pick. But now all of a sudden you got guys like Jason Kelce talking about, well, that's the closest thing to Trent Williams that I've ever seen. I don't know. It was, oh, gee, I'm trying to think of who it was. Was it, well, whatever. So he says that. And man, he's in much better shape. He looks like he's he's behind the injury. So from what you saw and what all this talk is, do you think he's going to line up in Brazil at left tackle first play?
Yes, I do think so. He came a long way during off season. From what I was able to see in terms of his knee. I remember that the Chiefs had a rookie camp the weekend after the draft, and he did a lot of standing around, and he would always be every time I looked at him, he was flexing that knee. He's obviously uncomfortable on the knee, but by the time mini camp rolled around a little more than a month, about a month and a half later, he was able to be the starting left tackle and kind of do everything. Now, again, they weren't in pads, but I do think that this is going to be an interesting situation where see how far he can come along. But yes, to answer your question, I think he will be their starting left tackle on opening day.
Gotcha. And then furthermore, that side of the line. I mean, is Kingsley? Do you believe that he has what it takes to be that guy and play left guard?
That's a bigger question. I mean, how many times, Lou, have you seen a guy just absolutely flame out at one position, and then the Chiefs, or not necessarily the Chiefs, any team, but he gets moved to a different position, and then everything works out just fine. He turns into a very productive player. Hey, it's probably happened, but I can't remember it. So we'll see with Kingsley. I'm certainly not ready to give up on him. I know the Chiefs aren't, but I'm not ready to give up on him. He's only 22 years old, still a young guy. I mean, he can make a lot of progress. We've seen this with some offensive linemen over the years, just take a little while to develop. So we'll see with him, but I don't know. That one I am personally less confident in than the Josh Simmons situation.
Yeah, to me, there's a good chance he was probably out there a little too soon, and that was primarily out of need. And then it didn't go well, so now he's probably in his own head, and it just kind of snowballed the wrong way from there. If there is one place where you've probably seen it happen, that your situation about the guy switching positions is probably guys that kick inside, that maybe they just you know play better in that kind of more of a phone booth than being kind of out on that island. So maybe, I mean, he's got all the physical skills and so forth. So hopefully with Andy Heck coaching him and so forth. That was one I want to ask you about too, is Andy Heck, because some of these assistants take a lot of heat. Nagy, another one, but Andy Heck, what's your sense on him? Is this a loyalty situation with Coach Reed, or does he really do a fine job developing these guys?
No, to me, the best source for all that is guys who have played for him. And I've talked to a number of guys about Andy Heck, guys who aren't on the Chiefs anymore, the former Chiefs. And I feel like I get a better, they're more free to talk about him in an honest manner. And everybody I've talked to loves Andy Heck, thinks he does a great job, is a great developer of young talent. I mean, it's not always going to work out. I mean, just because Wanya Morris doesn't necessarily work out, or a Kingsley Suamataia, I mean, just dumping that on the feet of the coach, the position coach, and saying, it's his fault. I think there needs to be a little more investigation before I'm comfortable saying that. And I can't say in particular how Andy Heck's development with a particular player, in this instance, Kingsley Suamataia, has gone. But I know in general, a lot of his former players speak very highly of him and his techniques and his ways of teaching. And so I'm inclined to believe that the problem lies elsewhere when a Wanya Morris or a Kingsley Suamataia or whoever it might be doesn't turn out the right way.
See, now to me, I think, I mean, obviously, I don't think Coach Reed is going to stick with the guy for this many years if there was an issue with his ability to coach guys and coach guys up and get them developed. I mean, I'll date myself now. You talked about people switching positions. He was a tight end at Notre Dame. Okay, I remember that. And he quickly switched to offensive tackler. I think maybe his senior year might have played some tackle, and he was a pretty good pro player. I mean, I think he played for the Seahawks for a decent amount of his career. But
Except one day. One day he was not very good at Arrowhead Stadium.
well, that's, you're going against, arguably the best ever.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Derek Thomas. And that, that was not a good day for Andy. But he seems to be okay in Arrowhead. He doesn't flinch anymore, so I'm sure he's okay with that. All right, so now we tend to play some games here, Adam, so you're going to have to indulge us here a little bit. First one's more of a word association thing. This is something going back to, again, my younger days. You'd see this a lot. So I'll throw some names at you. You give me kind of the first thing that comes to mind. And if there's nothing, just say pass. Okay. And these are some eclectic ones, if you will. So number one, we'll lead off. Jason Whitlock.
Misunderstood. I enjoyed being his teammate for a lot of years. I mean, he certainly took his share of criticism, but I saw a different side of him, and I always enjoyed working with Jason.
All right, for the younger viewers and so forth, Jason worked at the KC Star for years, great reporter and so forth, and you can catch him on I think he has a YouTube channel as well at this point. It's a little bit different feel to it. And how about Therese Paylor?
Oh, one of my favorite guys. Boy, Therese really worked it. You could tell Therese wanted to be good at his job, and just a sad day when he passed away at a far too young of an age. And one of my favorite guys who's come around, no doubt about it.
Yeah, the all juice team was always something you look forward to before each draft, and
Oh, yeah.
he was pretty successful. I mean, he was normally dead on. Okay, how about our own Nick Athen?
Nick, it's been a long time since I've run across Nick, but always enjoyed our talks back in the day, and good guy, no doubt.
Come on, Adam, be truthful. It's Nick. There
Right,
had to be something
okay?
there.
He's a jerk. It's just been a long time. I have not talked with Nick in a long time.
I know. I'm just kidding, because we'll be talking with him tomorrow, and I'm sure we did a little bit of a roast on him, last year. So just want to give you a second shot at it. Okay, so now here's the game. We do it every week. It's something that I developed a couple of years ago. We call it Chief Who. So I will read a series of concocted clues that I've come up with on my own. Usually it leads you to a player. It is a former chief that's not included in clues. I'll go through all of them, but if you know what it is before I get to the last clue, go ahead and jump in.
Right.
So let's go. Clue number one. He's a 3-sport athlete: track, football, basketball, parade, high school, All-American. Clue number one. In high school, he ran a 10-5 100-yard dash. He played college football in his home state. 2-time All-American consensus and Conference Player of the Year on his side of the ball as a senior. Next clue. First team All-Pro in his 7th season with the Chiefs. And he played his entire career in the AFC West. So there you have it.
So I should know who. We're not talking.
In theory.
We're not talking
no
about
one on the current. It's not on the
team.
current roster. This would have been going back. Actually, not on the current roster for sure. Yeah.
Okay, but you can't go any farther than that, huh?
I can tell you that he played high school ball in the Lone Star State.
Okay. Who was the other AFC West team or teams?
The Raiders.
The Raiders.
Yes.
Wow, you've got me here. I think you're going to stump me.
You mentioned him earlier.
I mentioned him earlier. He played for the
did.
Raiders. Not Derek Johnson.
Derek Johnson is it.
Derek
Way
Johnson
to
was a
go.
track. Okay, I did not know he was a track guy. All right.
That was the one that blew me away. Is it 10,
Okay.
5? Man, all right, let's go,
Yeah.
Derek. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he really didn't play. I don't think he really played much with Oakland. He signed in 2018
Yeah.
during free agency, and he was released in October of that year. So
Right.
that was basically it. So, of course, as always, Chief Who brought to you by our friends at Underdog Fantasy Sports. Scan the QR code there, deposit your $5, make your selections. And if it doesn't go well, you get 50 bonus. So use the promo code Chiefs Blitz. So, what's next, Adam? What do you got? What's happening now? Are you going to write any more books, or do you got anything planned?
Not a whole lot planned. We're just going to sort of take it a day at a time right now, and we have some things we want to do, but I don't know about books. I know I'm going to make a clean break with the day-to-day type coverage. I know that much, but if a nice book deal comes along, I might want to look at that. But as far as concrete plans, we just don't have a whole lot right now. We're going to take it one day at a time and see how we're enjoying things.
Absolutely. You've earned it. Any advice you have for like a younger reporter or somebody that's like just coming up in the business now?
Advice. Wow, get another job. No. It's just. I think there's a lot of people who don't understand how it's a 24/7 business, and that can really bother a lot of people. There's no weekends. You're sort of on call all the time without getting paid like a doctor. So you just better be ready for that. It can be an all-consuming thing at times, for sure.
All right. Well, that's all I have. I'll give you the floor. If there's anybody you want to shout out or anybody you want to thank, but you've got as much time as you want.
No, I just wanted to say it's been great talking with you over the years. I do remember those phone calls in the early years, you calling from Pennsylvania, and I'm thinking, wow, this don't hear from many Chiefs fans long distance like that. That's when we had to communicate, right? There was no email or text messaging or anything like that. So that's how we communicated for sure. And it's been fun. And you like other longtime Chiefs fans, are the people I feel really good for nowadays. The ones who stuck with them through the bad times, and you're getting your reward now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's I mean, you get caught up with, when we doing this show and people complaining all the time, and I just try to temper like, dude, we've gone through like 2-14s and just, where the team's ready to implode and you don't know what's happening, who's playing quarterback from one week to the next. And, just savor this time. And I get it, people getting their feelings or whatever. But anyway, I do appreciate you, Adam, for all you've done for the Chiefs, for yourself, for your family. Thank you for picking up that phone all those years ago and actually, answering the dumbass questions that I'd be asking every week or whatever it was. But no, I truly appreciate you taking the time for us here today. This is great. Thank you.
Thanks, Lou. It's been fun.
All right. So that was Adam Teicher, Late of the Chiefs. The name of that book was Kingdom, if you want to pick that up. It was a few years ago, but it was a great read, and Adam did a great job with that. So that's going to do it for us, this special edition of Four Guys in a Bar. Thanks again, Adam Teicher, and to our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy Sports. You got to play to win. So go ahead and sign up, and Nick will send you a card or two and put you on your way. So that's going to do it for us. Roll it.